All right, Roman, you got it.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, perfect. First off, thank you for everyone that's come here today. Thank you for everyone for being here. We all really appreciate it. So I just want to start by saying my name is Roman Shubin. I am a college freshman and I'm studying tech at DAE. And DAE is a nonprofit that helps students just like me learn all these real world tech skills. So a few years ago, yeah, it only has been a few years. Time really does fly. I was sitting right where a lot of you are. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to create something. So what I did was I looked around and like I want to create something. And that's how I've always been drawn to technology because it gives you like an infinite idea. You can create things that really didn't exist before. Literally anything you can think of, you can make it. So over the years, I've worked on websites, AI cameras, Arduinos, Python projects, and I'm currently working on cybersecurity. So what I've learned, what I've learned the most is that the best part of tech is just the new ideas. Being able to fail, being able to try something new, and being able to do whatever you want, being able to create whatever you can think of. So I'm very excited to welcome you today to today's Tech Career Expo. We'll explore all kinds of ways that t technology connects to you and your future, and also what you want in that field. So I'm gonna start off by saying tech matters, but a lot of people are like, well, it's a very specific field, but tech matters a lot because it's not just where you think it is. It's in every industry. It's in music, it's in sports, it's in medicine, construction, it's in anything you can think of. Tech runs off it in today's world. So you don't really have to be a tech person, as they say, to work in tech. Are you creative? Maybe you're creative. That's a good thing. That's a tech person. Maybe you're good at solving problems. That's a tech person. Maybe you're analytic, which is yeah, maybe you're analytic. That's also a tech person. If you have if you have an interest in it, your skills will be valuable in tech. So right here in Connecticut, there's a tech industry and it's growing very fast. There's a lot of companies that are looking for people who can help with things such as data, cybersecurity, software development, digital design, basically anything. Tech is such a uh, well looking for career right now. There are so many people that need new minds and new people just like you. So we already live in a very digital world. We edit videos, we use AI tools, a lot of things, the social media content, the things we do every day. And a lot of the stuff that you already do, like this, just like the stuff I do, I'm like, wow, this is already tech. Like there's a lot of stuff that people already do that's tech. And this is just the start. Um, so a really interesting idea is that a lot of people think that you need a degree or a 4-year degree to get into tech, though it's actually found that like more than half of tech related jobs in Connecticut can start with training or certifications. So there's a lot of programs, there's something called CompTIA, AWS, Google IT. They can help you get job ready in months and not years. I actually, as of right now, I am looking into getting a CompTIA certification. And many local employers partner with training programs right here in the region to help you take that first step. That means they're closer and more accessible than you might think. So if you want to get into tech, there is a way for you to get in. So as we kick off, I encourage you to not just listen, but also ask questions, and then also picture yourself in this world, in this industry, in this idea, and whether you want to build things, whether you want to solve problems, or just design something for people. So thank you for being here, and I welcome you to the Career Tech Expo. Let's go.
All right. Thank you, Roman. I would love to talk more later about all your experiences. It sounds awesome. And hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone. I'm Alexandra Mercurio. Um, Let me give you a brief introduction about my background. So, I was always worried about going into technology because in high school I failed algebra. But then I saw a superconductor. If you've never seen one, you should definitely Google it and watch a YouTube video. You literally float a magnet in midair, and I thought that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I did engineering anyway. So I'm a material scientist, material science engineer. Uh, Throughout my career, I have gotten to run production lines to build circuit breakers. I've gotten to blow them up. I've gotten to make new materials out of diamonds and for the semiconductor industry. I've gotten to build antennas for space communications and satellites. I've gotten my master's and my PhD all while working full time, and my company is paying for them, so I didn't have to pay for them at all. And now I'm running operations at Aperture Optical Sciences, where we build mirrors and telescopes for lasers and for also satellite applications. So this is the next generation of fusion energy that's coming our way. We're integral in that. So I'm excited to hear what all the rest of our panelists have to say in their varied careers and looking forward to what we have. So, Anthony, if you wouldn't mind, if you're here, uh, can you introduce yourself? I'm not sure if he's here. I don't know if
We're
they're.
waiting for Anthony to join.
Okay, sorry about that. Well, Alexey, you're up.
Hi, my name is Alexey Prokharchyk. Um, I'm a data analyst at iCapital, a private equity company. So I'm in the finance industry. I have a military background as well. And we're telling what inspired us, right, to get into technology. So basically, I was the end of my bachelor's degree for finance, and one of our professors asked, "Who knows how to code?" Like nobody raised their hand. And he's like, "You're not going to find a job." And I was like, whoa. So this is where I started exploring certificate programs, different pathways to try to get into Python. I did getting a job these days, but Python is like the next level. So yeah.
All right, thank you, Alexey. Bobby, who are you and how did you get where you are?
Good morning. My name is Bobby Goulart. I am a security operations specialist at Novus Insight, where we provide IT and security services to a lot of nonprofits, local governments, and school districts here in Connecticut and also down in Jacksonville, Florida. I actually pivoted from a very, very different field. I got my Bachelor of Science in psychology, and I was specifically studying in behavioral neuroscience. And I kind of looked at that field and I kind of wondered, is this really what I want my whole future to be? And then when I kind of set my sights in cybersecurity, I pursued after that, and I'm right where I'm at today.
Awesome, thank you. Andy, you're
Hi,
up.
everybody. I'm Andy. I'm a biomedical engineer by trade. I went into biomedical engineering because I really wanted to work with humans and potentially clinical caregivers. A lot of my career has been spent working with people that live with disabilities and helping them with mobility. So throughout everything that I've done, I've used technology to help track and understand how people move. And currently, I'm working at the Bone and Joint Institute helping people recover from surgery. So this could be people that have had a hip replacement or even athletes that are recovering from an ACL tear. And so one of the cool things that we do is we work in the motion analysis lab to try to understand when kids are ready to return to their sport and to use technology to help them know when it's safe for them to go back to playing sports again. So we get to use technology every day to help understand how people move and how to make them heal better.
Andy, we should talk later. All right, Anthony, I think I found you. So, could you tell us a little bit about you too?
There we go. Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, so my name is Anthony Varbaro. I'm a test engineer at Microboard. What got me really into the field, I guess, is I actually, when I was back in high school, ended up trying to take a class that was labeled computer engineering, and I thought, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to go build computers. That's not what the class was. It ended up being much more involved in like I guess more in the cyber ops area of it, trying to understand phishing schemes, more entry level. And then I ended up following that professor or that teacher in high school through a C++ class. And that really got me interested in taking up the courses that I did, taking up my bachelor's bachelor's degree in computer engineering at University of New Haven, and that really set me up on my path trying to go on to eventually landing at Microboard, where now I'm working as a test engineer, where we're doing functional test and troubleshooting of high complex digital functional boards that predominantly, for the most part, have some level of military defense application towards them.
Wow. So you just casually run computers and it's totally fine. Awesome. Okay. So let's kick it off with some questions to my panel. How would you say that technology plays a role in your field? What kind of tools or systems or innovations do you use most in your work? Let's say, Alexi, you get to start.
Hi. So we use Excel. Salesforce, it's like CRM, it's like to track our customers, clients. We have our own systems that you can't really learn outside.
Learn them on the job. Use in everything. We have our own automation systems. Um, and
Yeah.
All right. Andy?
Did I answer all the questions?
I think so, yeah. All the technologies that you use. It's great. I use a lot of Excel too. It haunts my dreams. Andy, do you also get haunted by Excel?
I spend a lot of time on Excel, but I would say the things that are the coolest technology that we use is our motion analysis lab. So we have a array of cameras. You can picture like the cool technology in like the new video games and even movies these days. So we bring athletes and other people recovering, and we bring them into our lab, and we can measure and test them by putting these little balls all over them and then track their motion in space in real time. And then we have to develop these models that will help show what their knees are doing, if they're bending appropriately, if they're, putting too much force in their joint. And then the other really cool thing that we're working on is there's this system called Epic, which is where all of your data for any kind of medical record is being stored. And so we're now working on ways to use things like wearable technologies, like your smartwatch, and try to embed some of that information in real time into your Epic records. So then we can use that on the research end to say, hey, we're noticing maybe you have an arrhythmia that your watch is now able to detect. And some of that's now being directly fed into Epic and using like big AI models to start to understand and predict some of that, which is really, really exciting to see how technology is evolving so quickly right now in the medical field, which is fun.
That's nuts. I'm picturing like how they did Avatar in like movies and
Yes.
stuff, watching everybody move, but you're using it to like help cure people.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Exactly. So picture Avatar and like the spacesuits that they're wearing, and then we actually are using that in the medical field, which is really fun.
Wow. All right, Bobby, can you top Hollywood avatars? No
I don't know
pressure.
if I could. I don't know if I could top Avatar. But yeah, we have kind of a variety of tooling that we use. We have a platform that's known as Huntress. It's an endpoint detection and response, and also an identity detection and response platform. Basically, what it does is we deploy it out, and should there be any sort of malicious activity detected on a device, Huntress is able to come right in. If it needs to be an automatically isolated machine, which is really cool. So if someone's doing something at 2 a.m. that they shouldn't be doing, and let's say they get hit with some kind of malware, Huntress will immediately isolate the machine. It can't connect to the internet, and we basically contain it automatically. Um, super, super fun. Can be a little bit scary with incidents, but we also use like AI email filtering, so that way we can try and prevent all of these phishing attempts that are going on normally. Um, but yeah, we kind of use a variety of tooling just to kind of monitor and also respond to ongoing incidents that we have with our clients. So it's definitely not Avatar level, but it is very, very fun.
Well, just as practical. You're making sure I don't get hacked by someone online. So
Yes.
I need you, Bobby. All right, Anthony, tell me how you're making the computer chips that control the world. What technology do you use?
Well, just to joke about it, I guess the Excel does play a role in my life as well, I guess, but it's more for data analysis end of things, not so much for the day-to-day, so to speak. But what we do here is we're actually a contract manufacturer for where we outsource that from different customers. Like I said, predominantly military defense applicated customers in that field, but we actually take the blank PCBs from our customers, and what we'll do is we'll send them through an entire SMT line process where we do the full uh, pick and place, quality validation of those boards. By the time they get to me, that's when they're finally in the test phase of things. So now I have a fully populated board in front of me where we're running anywhere from functional tests, flying probe operations, and if anything is awry, where I'm finding any disparities with those, I start going into my troubleshooting efforts where I'll use a multitude of other different tools as well, such as XJTAG, which I like to describe XJTAG as kind of like a digital X-ray, so to speak. Where we're reaching out to the main ICs, the main processors on that device, and then from there branching out to all the other devices that are on that one PCB board. And we're able to utilize that as a tool for debugging, as well as some other things like the IR camera, where we'll utilize infrared camera while a board is under power, and I'll use my prior knowledge and I'll say, okay, this area of the board is heating up during the process, or vice versa. It's not. I'm not expecting that, or I am expecting that. I'll utilize those things as well, cross-reference that with schematics or Gerber data from our customer that we're provided. That really helps me start narrowing in and doing a real debug analysis utilizing those different technologies.
All right, so tell me if I'm wrong. What I just heard you say is that first, there's a bunch of these crazy robots that put stuff on this piece of green plastic, and then you shoot little currents of electricity through all these little things that the robot just placed, and you watch it with like heat goggles.
Not heat goggles, but I have a camera device. I wish I had it right here in front of me, but we have an IR camera where I can utilize it to actually utilize it to see the board under load, under power, and I can see those hot spots on the board, and I can see the temperature on it as well. And I'll utilize that as a tool. I won't use that as much per se, but utilizing the schematics really has always been a great tool for us, cross-referencing that with our flying probe data, which flying probe is this machine that has a bunch of probe needles that are flying at a high speed that are making those current measurements and voltage measurements and all the confirmations for the board, where an operator would take probably hours to do one board. This can do a board in roughly anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how populated that board is.
Nuts. All right, so we have someone who's literally doing avatar, and also making sure that all of your bodily functions every day can be monitored so you're okay. I have someone else who's making sure, Alexey, that my finances are all in check and that nobody's coming after me. Bobby, you're keeping all my data safe. I need you. And then we have computer chip mastermind controlling all of our worlds over here. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I only get to work with machines the size of cars. Mine's slightly more physical. And if I could tell you that one strand of your hair is about 100 nanometers, 1/100th. If you split your hair into 100 pieces, my machines can take off that much material at a time. So y'all do cooler stuff, but I have bigger machines. Okay, so next. What does a day in your life look like? You guys are doing these crazy things with all these crazy things, but what is every day? How do you get used to using this technology? I choose Andrea.
So I don't get to go into the lab every day. Those are kind of special occasions. I spend a lot of time building out designing studies. So helping surgeons decide if they want to do this research, how are we going to do it? Who are we going to work with? It's actually interesting because I use a lot of engineering design in this process where I get to do customer discovery and I figure out who wants to do what, who wants to measure what, where are we capable of measuring something. So a cool aspect is like, oh, let's maybe do virtual PT and see if we can get the PTs to do the assessment over the internet, which is kind of neat. I spend a lot of time writing protocols and working with what's called the IRB to make sure that the research that we do is safe and we're not going to harm or hurt the patients that we work with. And then I have to do, it's actually kind of interesting, a lot of conversations and interviews with surgeons to make sure that they are comfortable with what we're doing and get them on board with our study design and our study plan. Then I do a lot of analysis of the data that we collect through those studies and then write that up into a report or like a scientific paper. And when we do those kinds of reports, it's kind of back and forth with the team that worked on the design. And so we have to think, okay, we want to show this data or we don't want to show that data. We want to tell a good story. So a lot of what I feel like I do is kind of like a storytelling of research data. And I have to convince people using, my scientific knowledge and my awareness of all of the parts and pieces of the story to get everybody first and foremost to agree to what the paper says, but then to have the rest of the world that we want to present it to think that our work is worthy of being published. So that's kind of a big challenge of what I do is writing and research and analysis. So That's fun, and it takes a lot of coordination, I would say, across several different teams, and really good, strong communication skills to bring everybody to the table to be able to make all that come together.
Wow. So it sounds like even though you have these like Hollywood level things that you get to play with all the time, if you can't tell people about it, then it doesn't matter.
Exactly. So a lot of what I have to do is to bring it to the table in a way that's a little bit more understandable, and to make it so that people can understand what it is we're trying to do with the data. And so really kind of making it make sense to a broader audience, and helping them understand what it is we did and why we did it, to convince them that it was something that was worth all of those pieces of technology to utilize and the time that we spent to work on it. So it's
Wow.
fun.
Okay, so I guess English class didn't go to waste.
Well, I was going to hope that I got to bring this up. The thing that I thought that was maybe a little off topic from this tech career, one of the things that I did in high school that I think was the most helpful for me was actually drama, music, and any type of performing arts. So getting the opportunity to present in front of large crowds, if you're doing those things already, keep doing them, because it helps you with your presentation skills and your communication. So to all those actors out there, keep it going.
Awesome. I love that. All right, Alexey, are you performing on a big stage every day? What does your day-to-day look like?
I don't think about the big stage, but what we do is we come to work and we look at financial statements. I know it sounds boring, but hold on. What happens is we're doing like a detective work almost, and you do work with a lot of people. So there's a lot of verbal email communication. Sometimes you call investors, fund managers, and you say, hey, there's this transaction going through. We're trying to figure out where this money came from, and how does it.
It's like a puzzle work. So when you do find like a solution, it's almost euphoric, because like sometimes it takes a long time to make sense, and heads and tails of like what is this like fund like structure. What we're doing, we're also automating, we're connecting all these different portals for investors. And we have like basically our own contemporary like AI or automated system that pulls all the data together and creates like nice little reports. So by doing that, especially with smaller firms, instead of them concentrating, they can concentrate on servicing their customers. What we're doing, we're removing, alleviating this process of collecting data, this boring stuff, doing accounting, and on our end, it's all automatic. So once you connected all the pieces, boom, you have a nice little report. It goes to the client, it goes to the customer.
Make sound decisions on what to invest in, because some of those funds, they report things differently, and it's hard to, and you're getting all those papers. It's like having 10 bank accounts and 10 credit cards, and you're getting all these statements, and you're like, oh my God, you gotta go one in each. Instead, you're getting like nice, beautiful format, and investors can make a decision. I'm probably not going to invest in this fund anymore because it's not bringing me the value I'm looking in. I'm not going to invest in this building because again, it's not bringing the value. But however, this project, like buying, I don't know, like a resort or a vineyard somewhere in France, actually might yield a good return on your investment. And for our company, what we're doing is we're lowering the barriers for the investors. So people don't have to have like millions to invest anymore, but instead it allows them to invest smaller amounts of money. So instead of like again $1 million, it might be like a few $1,000s, for example.
Wow. Okay. I don't even know if I can understand all the cool things that you do every day. Awesome.
Think investing. Think investing.
Think investing. Okay. We should also talk. I want to learn. All right, Bobby, what does your day-to-day look like?
So my day-to-day is definitely consisting of partially of scheduled things and then very much unscheduled incident response. So usually in the mornings I'll come in, we'll have a number of alerts that came in overnight. So all the low kind of level of stuff that we'll address, kind of look into. I may be having meetings going over with clients to go over their cybersecurity awareness training to see how we can better educate their users on identifying phishing attempts, reporting phishing, reporting all of these nefarious behaviors that happen to prevent organizations becoming compromised. I might be doing a vulnerability management scan, then analyzing those results and presenting it to a client. The other big kind of fun, unplanned part is definitely a big part of my job is incident response. So we may get an alert in, and pretty much anything that I was working on, if I'm not immediately looking and facing with somebody right now, is to kind of drop it and immediately go over to an incident. So we'll definitely go in, check out what the actual threat is, contain it, eradicate it, and then typically we'll then inform the client, and then we'd end up meeting with cyber insurance and things like that. So I've definitely had calls and texts at night from our on watch team that's like, hey, this has come in, and you're dealing with it kind of maybe 7, 8 o'clock at night. But it's definitely a fun mix of having a little bit of normality for scheduling, and then this big kind of unknown of, am I going to have an incident that takes 30 minutes today or 8 hours?
All right, so you're just waiting for the adrenaline rush. Somebody's going to call you, you're going to be like, everything's going wrong and I need you.
Yeah. Or we'll get alerts and the client won't know at all that anything's wrong. And we're like, oh no, there's something wrong.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So that sounds like every day is exciting.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, Anthony, is your day-to-day full of adrenaline rushes as well, or something maybe more sustainable?
Oh, only when I grab a monster out of the fridge upstairs, but no. So I kind of already addressed a little bit of what I do on a day-to-day, but for what we do, like I said, by the time the boards reach me at that point, I have fully populated boards that we're doing functional test operations on. A lot of our customers, for the most part, for those functional test operations, they've either provided the equipment or in some cases, even the software, where for some of our customers, there is more or less an automated functional test operation that we're utilizing with their software and their hardware that they're providing us. And obviously we'll do the maintenance work on that, and we'll do any of the, functional operations that are the hands-on operation aspects of it. But when we do have those failures, it's now up to us to try and diagnose as to why. And so we'll go through those debug operations that I was discussing earlier, or on another instance where we'll have customers that may utilize the flying probe. Not only are we utilizing that for current customers, but any new customers that want to utilize that, it's then up to me to do the development on that as well. So I'll utilize any. Typically, I'd prefer if we had the ODB++ format of all their data. ODB++ has really just become the industry standard for everything in one, so to speak. If you want to think of it as like a nice fancy zip file where you have all of your Gerber data, your assembly drawings, your schematic, it's all cross-referenced into one file for ODB++. We won't always get that. So we'll get what I'll consider the older format, which is still commonly used, but just your blank traditional Gerber files. So one way or another, we have to do the translation to a format that's accessible on the flying probes end. And then it's up to us to reaffirm all the coordinates, all the points that we're going to make contact on the board. That way we don't break any components by accident. Just make sure we're setting the depth. That way we're not blasting a hole through the board by accident because we're applying too much pressure. And then we'll go through the operations of making sure those tests are up to speed and, as far as our customers are concerned, up to their standards.
Awesome. Okay, so Bobby is trying to prevent cyber attacks and finding any ways in, but you're trying to make sure that my physical computer, before I even get it, can't get attacked and there isn't anything wrong with it. So that's pretty cool.
The boards themselves that go into the computers, but like I said, most of the boards, we do have some commercial or medical applicated related boards, but for me, I always look at it in the sense of so many of the boards that we work on do have those military defense applications towards them. It's so important to me that we have those accurate data records per board, serialized by board, that we're fully moving these boards full as far as we and the customer are understood, fully functional, because the last thing we want in any capacity is anything intentionally going out into the field knowingly wrong.
Wow. Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for that, especially for our defense side of things. All right. So now I'm going to ask the panel to take a second and hold two thoughts in your mind at the same time. I need you to think back to when you were in high school and think about what you do now. And I want you to tell me, what would you tell your high school self is a skill that they should focus on to get to where you are now? And how would you recommend doing it? All right, so we'll digest. And Alexey, you get to go first again.
I think Andrea mentioned theater. I totally agree with this. Like what I like to say, AI can replace this face to face, and it's so important. Up to 50% of my job is talking to people. Some of them are very wealthy, and they want to talk to chatbots AI. So you got to get comfortable. Get out there, talk to people, ask them questions. Networking is very important. When I say networking, I know it sounds very vague. So you can reach out to people. I don't know, your friend's father, friend's father that does her work, and ask them, hey, what do you do? Like, how do you do it? What do you like about your career? How did you get there? You can also, what I do sometimes on LinkedIn, I find somebody for like my network, who is, doing something that I'm really interested in, and just reach out to them. Like, and people love talking about like themselves and what they do often enough. And they can share with you the information. And sometimes you just like, oh, this is not what I want to do. Like, it sounds like one thing, but then another one. So it lets you explore, but also getting comfortable talking to people. That makes you easier to talk in interviews. So I think people skills, especially today's age of AI, those are probably the most important skills you can learn. Join the clubs. Join the clubs. Socialize. Very, very important. Get out there, basically.
All right, I love that message. So it's important to learn, right, about technology and science, sure, but it's just as important to go have some fun and go out and be with people. That's awesome. I love that.
I'd love to piggyback off of that too.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I think is really great, if you find those friends, parents, or maybe a neighbor, if you're interested in particular field, maybe go shadow them for the day. So I know that a lot of our undergraduate students that we've worked with have been successful because they did like a shadowing at the ER, or they went and worked with a physical therapist for the day, and they were like, wow, this is really cool what you do. And then you get to see and experience what those careers look like even before you even go to school. So you become more educated in what you want to do, what you like, and then also what you don't like. So if you go out and you're like, oh my gosh, you have to like touch patients, that sounds awful. Well, you're probably not going to be very good as a physical therapist if you're not willing to manipulate people's arms and legs and, get up close and personal with them. So having that chance to go out and see what careers look like, you should start now, start immediately and just get involved. And then the other piece that I would add is similar to what you were saying with joining clubs. Think about things like Math Olympiad or Science Olympiad. These are great opportunities to work on those presentation skills, but also learn how to solve problems kind of under pressure. Because all of us in tech are trying to solve really complex problems, and we're doing it under the gun, we're doing it under deadlines. So getting that real world experience of what it's like to actually work as a team and to have to solve complicated problems together under the gun will give you that experience that you might like or don't like. And then this is a good career path for me to go into tech because I want to work together with a team and be able to solve these really complicated problems together. So that's my advice.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Bobby, are you hopping on the communication bandwagon, or do you have other skills too?
I would definitely say work on writing. That is a really big thing. I think in technology, you can kind of get really focused on the technical aspects and, devolving really, really deeply into that. But I can't tell you the amount of just pages and pages of documentation I've had to make. And I know it's really tempting with large language models using AI chatbots to try and draft some language, but there are instances where if I'm working with sensitive data from an incident, necessarily, I can't put that into an AI chatbot and say, hey, write this report for me. If I'm, trying to draft documentation that's speaking to a really particular audience, I have to really make sure I can control how technical am I speaking in a certain document. Is this an audience where I need to convey all the technical details, or do I need to dial it back a little bit to get the point across without necessarily drowning everybody in acronyms and technology language? But writing is huge, and if you're able to really have a good handle on your writing, you're going to stand out a ton, because I've definitely seen in colleagues outside of my company that have kind of drafted documents and things like that. It's very apparent when AI gets used because it tends to talk itself in circles, and doesn't necessarily do the best job. So absolutely keep focusing on your writing. If you're doing any kind of like research paper writing, that's really, really good too for the technical side. But yeah, I can't stress enough how important writing is for when it comes to the tech field.
Awesome. I completely agree with you, Bobby, for sure. Anthony, what skills do you think students should focus on?
Well, I think I will piggyback a little bit off of Alexi with the idea of trying to join clubs and things just to try to not only give yourself that networking opportunity with people who may be interested in the similar fields, the professors or the upperclassmen that may also be in those similar fields, but I think for me, a large part when it came to moving from high school over to college, and I've always kind of been like this in the sense where my learning style has not always, I felt, lined up exactly the way the curriculum will normally lay itself out, where, and I don't want to say it's more linear all the time, but for me, I've always felt I've worked better in a more, lack of better words, a fluid state in the sense where I've been able to utilize things like YouTube videos. And I know it sounds silly, but being able to do your own self-learning in tandem with the curriculum that you have in front of you, I think is instrumental for advancing yourself in being able to follow with the curriculum in front of you. Also not being afraid to reach out to your professor and, having the ability to feel comfortable doing that. I know it's very all of it's very scary coming out of high school, going into a completely new environment. I mean, even myself today, trying to introduce yourself, or I'll reflect back toward trying to find an internship or landing your first job. You may not feel like you may be sitting there thinking, oh, am I not good enough? Am I not well equipped enough for the environment that I may be approaching? Everyone coming out of college is exactly like that. It's not just yourself. Knowing that and having that, at least that reassurance that everyone is doing the exact same thing and everyone is approaching something brand new and not feeling like you're a fraud in that sense going into it. Every single day is a learning opportunity, and being comfortable asking your professors or your coworkers or your fellow students questions about things you may not be sure of. It's okay to not always know the answer.
I completely agree with all of you. I think so. We're talking about tech, and a lot of the thoughts I know that I had and a lot of my friends had in tech when we were learning was that, oh, I don't, English doesn't matter to me. I'm an engineer. I don't need to write. I don't need to talk to people, right? But we're all here to tell you that you do. And I know that it can be super scary for some people, and I want you to know that that's okay. It's okay to be afraid. Like Anthony was saying, nobody's actually really good at it. Everybody looks ridiculous sometimes. But more importantly, if speaking is really scary, then your superpower is listening. Become a good listener. Ask that one good question to the person that's talking to you and see what they have to say. You don't have to carry the conversation. You just have to listen. And you can ask any question as long as you're okay with hearing the word no. So don't let that stop you. In terms of writing, you don't have to be a novelist. I mean, great if you are, cool side hustle, but uh, bullet points will work too if you have to, right? And then slowly you can develop those into bigger papers or what have you, but start simple. No problem has to be big and overwhelming. We can break it down into smaller pieces. You can go talk to people. You can reach out to people, and it's going to be okay. Worst thing they say is no, or maybe they don't respond. It's not you. It's all right. Okay, so for our next question, how did we all get to where we are? What educational path did you take? Was it traditional, maybe not? How is it possible to get to your field? Do you have to go get a PhD, or can I get a certificate? How do we get there? Alexi.
Well, my path was very uh it would be crazy, I guess. So I actually dropped out of college, went out of high school, I went to school. It was not at that point I was not ready. So I dropped out. I tried various things. I worked at the machine shop, at the grocery store, and then I decided I was not satisfied where I'm at, and I ended up joining the military. After joining basically why in the military, I switched to reserve status, and I went to North Community College actually, just to test out how comfortable I am going back to school. And that led me to basically finishing my bachelor's, getting into UConn, and read newsletters from universities. This is what got me to actually Tech Ready program. Nobody reads them. It's kind of a lot of people don't read them. I just find out like phenomenal things. Study abroad opportunities, internships, like networking opportunities. And I go and like there's like five, six people sitting there, like or 10, and then it actually you stand out. You learn things. Um, Basically, I really love I love history and finance. Actually, two bachelors, one in history, one in finance. Not very connected, but it actually helps tremendously. Looking at finance from historical point of view as well. And basically, I learned a lot. It gave me a broad view of the world, but I know you want to concentrate on one thing. So I started like fell in love with watching like finance news, what's going on in the world, what's going on with the companies, how prices of gold somewhere in another country affect overall economy in the United States. I was like, it's like a puzzle. It's a detective work, like mentioned in the past. It's like connecting pieces, how world works. And history actually provides you, like looking back, like first, the first stock market that was open, they had financial crisis in five years. It was like it's called a tulip. It was tulips. They were selling tulips. It was like a big thing. It crashed the market in Dutch Republic. But quite fascinating. So
All right, cool. Okay. I love the history plus finance tie.
yeah.
Interesting. All right. And the non-traditional path to get there. I think that's huge. I have a lot of friends who went to college for freshman year, decided it wasn't for them, worked for a few years, and then figured out what they wanted to do after that. I think that's also super okay. Andrea, what was your path or what paths are possible?
So I took a pretty traditional path. I knew that I wanted to be a biomedical engineer from the get-go. So that, calculus, physics, all those courses in high school helped me get into a good school. I knew I wanted to do more hands-on learning. So I looked at all of like the tech schools, RPI, Rensselaer Polytech, Georgia Tech, RIT. So definitely looking for more like hands-on, smaller class sizes was really important to me so that I could build and make. But I would say I think the field has evolved a lot since I went to school a few years ago. And I think that there's lots of opportunities. So if you're interested purely in kind of that hands-on working with clients, working with patients particularly, there's awesome certification programs now. So like a radiology technician would be a certification program you could do. Becoming like an occupational therapist or a physical therapist are great ways of kind of entering the field and getting involved in patient care. So there's lots and lots of different career pathways. One program that I would recommend if you're at all interested in the medical tech field is a program called Pathways for Patient Health. So this is actually like a free certification program that you can enroll in as a high school student. You can take a few online free classes, learn about the field in more depth, and then you can look at different career pathways within my industry. So similar to what was said earlier, I think being a lifelong learner and just looking for opportunities online that are free and available to you is going to give you such a leg up because you're going to be more aware not only of the opportunities that are available to you, but also the skills that you have and the ones you want to develop. So just look online for even, simple things like I do a lot of research and analytics. So getting a certification in statistics could be something that could be really beneficial to help you grow your career. So looking on LinkedIn for certifications and different types of skill development can help you kind of figure out what you're good at, what you want to do. And some of these things are free. Some of them might be a small fee that might be worth paying for because it helps you kind of build up your resume and get you along a path. But I'll drop in the chat the one about the specifically related to clinical health, because this one helps you understand, I want to go maybe into manufacturing or medical sales? Do I want to work more in a clinical environment? So again, just finding all kinds of opportunities and avenues to learn as someone that's getting educated can help you figure out like ways into the field.
Cool. Okay, I want to kind of do that too. That sounds super interesting. Okay, Bobby, how about you?
So I came from a very, very different background than I'm at now. So I initially went to university and I was pre-med and I was like, I'm going to be a neurologist. I was so hyper focused on it. And then kind of 2 years in, I'm like, do I really want to be in medicine? I don't know. So my university also had a doctorate program that I could go into after university. And so I actually worked as an intern in that research lab where we were studying stress management differences in rodent models that are induced with hypoxia, which is limited oxygen in the brain. So I would be doing research on rats and then performing behavioral tests. And while I loved that work that I did, and I found it really rewarding, I kind of really had to take a look and say, is this going to kind of pertain to what I want to do with my whole life? Is this going to help me live the life I want to live? And that's definitely something I kind of stress with anybody going into higher education or anything. Definitely pursue what you want to pursue, but also kind of have the thought in the back of your mind, like the jobs that I'm thinking about of being in here, is it going to be something where I'm working in now, where I can kind of work anywhere in the world versus I'd be only working in a lab. So I ended up getting my degree. I kind of took a year and a half or so to kind of be like, do I want to jump into the doctorate PhD program and spend that kind of money? And then COVID hit, which for a lot of us definitely put things on pause. So I put that on pause and I kind of really thought about, okay, what can I sort of pivot to? And I landed on cybersecurity. So during COVID, I got, it was mentioned earlier, CompTIA, they have an A+ certification, which is kind of a standard IT certification, just to kind of prove to anybody I'm interviewing with, like, I know technology. They're going to see my education and be like, why are you here? So I ended up doing that. I got into help desk positions to really, really understand technology better. So then I initially had a connection with our current Chief Information Security Officer, Greg, kind of probed me a little bit at the help desk position I was at, and then poached me, brought me down here, and we kind of built out a cybersecurity division that we're really, really proud of. But yeah, if you're in high school right now, if you decide to go to university, definitely feel free to pursue what you find interesting, what really, really is passionate to you. But don't feel like you're absolutely locked into it. I know I had a really, really focused mindset of I'm learning in this, I can only do this. But you can absolutely pivot. We have so many people at our company that are from wildly different parts of life. People were wedding DJs, they were public school computer teachers. It really, really is varied in my field of where people come from. If you do university or not, it's less about what your background was and more about what can you do now.
Awesome. I like kind of similar to Alexey as well, doing the history thing. You're doing neuroscience and cybersecurity. I know one of the concepts that I learned in school is that you actually can ask the best questions if you come from one field and go to another, because you have a different perspective on it. So kind of what I'm hearing is you guys, both of you saying something similar to that, is that you were able to have these perspectives from these various avenues of interest. Could even be a hobby that can, I don't know, kind of shape how you do your job every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, Anthony, how did you get to your role, and or what opportunities are there if somebody doesn't choose to get there the same way you did?
So the way I got there, at least, was I did go a more traditional route, going to university. I went to the University of New Haven. I ended up getting my bachelor's in computer engineering, then I followed it up with getting my master's in data science. And I was really what I started my college career, I guess I was more funneling myself down what I felt, and I use the word carefully, a safe path, what I felt at the time, where I wanted to keep myself, and I had an interest in both hardware and software, and I was trying to look at the different options, and I said, okay, computer engineering, that looks like it's kind of the best of both worlds, so to speak. So I started moving myself down that path more so, but after 3 years in or whatever, I'm looking for an internship opportunity. I ended up finding one with Microboard, and I ended up joining them in their IT department. And I did my internship there, and I did the internship, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the people mostly. But as far as myself and as I was learning that, I was seeing my own self-interest, that I was kind of realizing maybe IT isn't the thing for me. And, bouncing back to school, I wish I maybe instead of computer engineering, I wish I focused a little more on the electrical engineering side of things, just based on what I do now on a day to day, but still having those opportunities to, I still had that baseline with a lot of my core courses having overlap with electrical engineering. So I didn't feel like I was completely out of the water there, so to speak. And I did ended up thinking the following summer, returning to Microboard, but within their test department. test engineering department, and that really kind of gave me that open scope where I was like, okay, everything I've been doing in school, I finally have these real world applications that I can put two and two together finally. Because I kind of mentioned it, but I always struggled a little bit when it came to the school aspects, trying to identify the real world application. How do I get to use this? Because we don't have all those same technologies or the devices that we have here necessarily in the classroom setting. But that's definitely been a great growth opportunity for myself, I felt. But outside of the traditional means, I do know of at least one team member in my department that went through like getting certified, getting his certificates in place, and going through that means, and bringing himself up over the years through different opportunities before he landed here at Microboard. So there's definitely opportunities both in the engineering form or the technician level area where you can enter the field in many avenues, so to speak.
Awesome. Okay. Um, Kind of to piggyback off what everyone says, I also took a traditional route in terms of school, but I know that's not for everyone. And I'm in the field of optics right now, and I can say that in optics in particular, which is kind of its own unique little butterfly of a world, we don't expect anybody to have experience in optics. Sure, you can go be an optician, you can go to college and bachelor's, master's, PhD in these types of things. But what I can tell you is that I need technicians. These are my people who are actually making my parts. I need you. I don't expect you to know anything about it. You could graduate high school, come here, and I will teach you what you need to know. So you can still be involved in technology, even if school is not for you, and that's okay. I will never discourage you from further education. I think continuous learning is ridiculously important to your life in general, everyone's life overall. But if you know that traditional college path is not your path, there are still opportunities for you in technology. So we're getting close to time for our panel. So I'm going to go off script just a little bit and ask all of my fellow panelists if you could just leave a final thought for all of our young, interested in technology high school students. What's the last kind of message that you would like to leave them with? Alexey.
Don't give up. Keep exploring. Most of the jobs, like you said, didn't require as much technical skills. You learn most of something in the job. I mean, sorry, I'm gonna say that differently. Getting foot in the door, so like getting coding, Python, something, a certificate will make you stand out and get your foot in the door. Once you're in there, you'll learn 90% of the things in the job. The main thing they want you to know, like you would like to know to kind of get up to speed is, your Excel, Outlook, how to create a PowerPoint. So basic things, and don't give up. Just keep doing, and then you will get the results.
I totally agree. Just keep swimming. Andrea.
I would say be curious. I've worked a lot with students, and I think that those students that are the most successful are those that are curious and willing to ask questions and go to their professors for help, and to be lifelong learners and just be constantly looking for the next answer to complex problems. If you just prove to the world that you're interested and engaged and passionate about your area of interest, you're going to spark someone's own curiosity and wanting to develop you as a person within their workforce. So being someone that's just really curious enough to ask questions and brave enough to step up and speak to someone is, I think everything you need to be successful. Just get out there and be curious.
Awesome. Bobby, final thoughts?
Definitely don't be afraid to pivot. Go after, what you're really interested in, what you're passionate about. But if you feel like, hey, this might not be for me, or you find something else interesting, never feel like it's a failure that you decide to leave one path and go to something different. Ultimately you're trying to live the life that you want to live. So if it's you want to pursue something, you end up finding out it's not totally for me, it's completely okay. You don't need to have this dedicated set path right at 17, 18 to say this is exactly what I'm doing. So don't be afraid to be open to different things, and end up deciding that what I was initially passionate about, and you might even still it might not be necessarily where you want to be career wise.
So, thank you, Bobby. Anthony, final thoughts?
I think not to say it again after everyone else, but just don't be afraid. I, I think the biggest hurdle that you'll face isn't the material of whatever you're trying to get into or learning that or networking in that sense. But I think your biggest hurdle, honestly, and I see it on the news or online everywhere, is landing that opportunity, landing that internship or landing that job. And I know everyone has mixed feelings on AI, but unfortunately, it is here and now, right now. And a lot of companies are utilizing it in the form of trying to sift through the resumes, so to speak. So, the biggest piece of advice that I tell everyone when I go to these college fairs or whatnot is call the company, submit the application, whatever it is online, and go through those proper channels. But after you're done, call, because I promise you, you will put yourself ahead of the herd, so to speak. I promise you, the majority of your fellow students and friends or whatnot are probably not calling. And if you call, at least whoever picks up on the other end, probably someone in the HR department, they can start redirecting you. They know you're a real person, and they'll pull your resume out of the stack, so to speak.
Awesome. I agree with everything all of you said. It's okay to change your mind. Always ask why. You know, your job will teach you the skills that you need to learn. You just have to get there. And don't be afraid. It's the little things that can get you ahead. So I know we believe in all you guys, and we know that you can do it. So now you just gotta see what you get. All right, Patricia, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thanks so much. And thanks so much to our panelists. I'm inspired. Let's get out there and get some new careers in tech occupations. Like there's no time like the present to really think about how to marry your passions, what you're interested in, and the opportunities that exist, not just in our region, but nationally in tech roles. So for our high schools, the next component that we wanted to talk about today is just kind of a quick overview of how to get started. There certainly isn't a shortage of higher education and post-secondary options. Our panel talked about their paths. And if you're working with your counselors at school, I'm sure you've participated in some kind of a high school or college or career fair. Just wanted to take a moment to spotlight just some education paths here in Fairfield County in particular. As you know, and I think Alexey, you talked about Norwalk Community College or CT State at Norwalk. They offer cybersecurity degrees and certificates, as well as software development and data analysis and programming. And these two-year programs are sometimes less, are great to prepare students for faster entry into the workplace. They provide hands-on skill as well as theory for roles like IT support, like Bobby was talking about, network technician, junior developer, help desk. And our community colleges often serve as a launch pad for gaining experiences and stacking credentials. And then from there, thinking about our colleges and universities, I just pulled up UConn as a specific example, right? UConn in Stanford in particular offers a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science, cybersecurity or software engineering concentrations. They have an incredible business analytics program. They also have an accelerated 5-year master's program where you just go for one more year after you're done with your bachelor's. And these are pathways. So you can sometimes start off with starting to go to that community college, getting started in the industry, finding your lane, and then finding a higher education pathway that can help you move into sort of more specialized degree tracks and professional tracks. So a 4-year degree builds deeper technical and analytical expertise. And I think Alexey and all of our panelists that have their degrees and advanced degrees can attest to that. And they tend to open doors for a specialized leadership track role as well. So some things to consider as you are thinking about how to get started. And then we also have in our region, no shortage of employer-led training opportunities. And I just wanted to give a highlight to Synchrony Skills Academy. They provide a data analytics program. And this program is offered through the foundation at Synchrony, which is based in Stanford. It's a free program. They usually have a cohort of about 25 to 30 students. students will be eligible to earn data science certifications. And I'm just going to put that in the chat, and we'll share this out to our schools afterwards as well. For anybody who's interested in learning more about that. Synchrony also has a high school-based program that students in the area can participate in. So certainly take a look at their website to learn more about our employer-led training opportunity example. And then lastly, there is, again, great grant-funded tech training programs in the region. We have our partner, The Workplace, on the call today. That Tech Ready program is in its final years of grant funding, but an opportunity for high school students to learn about Python, SQL, cybersecurity skills that could get them started on a pathway. In addition to that, Stanford has a program that's new. Stanford Tech Hub also provides no cost, but it's place-based tech training in Stanford with a focus in web development and cybersecurity. So as you're thinking about all of these exciting paths that we learned about today, understand that there is really a robust ecosystem out there for you to get started in and to consider. And these are just some examples of that. And those counselors that you have at your school certainly can help you determine the best pathway that will work for you. So no matter where you start, the most important step is to get started. Have a plan of action, explore a course, apply for an internship in high school, or attend some engagement opportunity that you can. I think Andy, you mentioned sort of thinking about your network and determining who's working in roles that you think might be interesting and talking to them more about it. Talk to your counselors to see if you can get connected to shadowing opportunities. But there is really no wrong path. And one of the things that we heard from our panelists is, try things, understand that you may start and stop, but there is no shortage of opportunity and great career options for you that really align to what you're interested in and what's available. So from there, I'm going to kick it over to Brenda, who will introduce herself and facilitate our Q&A. And if you have any questions, certainly put them in the chat.
Excellent. Yes, we'd love to take questions from the audience. My name is Brenda Licitano. I'm a principal systems engineer at Pratt Whitney, an RTX company. And I get to design propulsion systems. So jet engines that power commercial and military aircraft, and then also connect and protect us. So we're really passionate in the aerospace area about what we get to do every day. Really cool work with really smart people who are dedicated to their jobs. And I love to work with people that are, attentive to the details and willing to ask those questions. So we'd love to get some Q&A questions in the chat, but I have a few here to get us started while we wait for some to come in. So for our panelists, how can you make your best contribution in the field when the industry is moving so quickly? What does it mean to make an impact? Maybe we'll start with Andy.
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to answer this one. So I've been thinking a lot about data science and AI. So I mentioned earlier that hospitals are interested in using AI models right now we're working on a risk model to see like who's at risk of poor recovery from surgery. And one of the things that I feel like as a data scientist, you're always kind of fearful of is like, oh my gosh, is AI going to take over my job someday? And we keep having this conversation as a research team to say, well, that's really never going to happen because you always need that human component. You always need that person that's kind of overseeing the models and understanding what the data actually says and how to interpret it. And so I feel like figuring out ways to make yourself valuable within your workforce and being able to communicate that idea back out is really important. But understanding and leaning into the technology is really important. So for myself, I don't know a whole lot about AI or how it works, but the more I learn, the more it's essentially doing what I do, which is a lot of regression analysis and trying to come to a conclusion about an answer and using kind of iterative design to solve for something. And so I can use my own understanding of how to solve a complex problem and learn more about AI as a lifelong learner myself, to not be fearful of it, but to actually try to utilize it as a tool to make myself more efficient and better at my work. And so I think that when you're leaning into your career, to look at those opportunities to continue to evolve, don't get stuck, right? And just utilize technology in a way that will help you get better and better as a scientist or as an engineer, is a good way to approach your work in the future.
Love it. We all get to solve problems every day, and in solving those problems, we add value. So I know that, the world is changing, but as long as you have the ability to learn new things, ask new questions, and think about things differently, you can continue to innovate and improve your skills, so that you're not left behind. So I love all the different opportunities we have and the great connections that you can build. I actually have a question on internships. So a few different folks have mentioned using internships as a way to get into an industry. Do we have any panelists that would like to talk about either interns that they've had in their organizations or internships they've done themselves?
I can answer that. So I was not, while I was studying, I worked part-time, so I couldn't really do the internships. But now where I work, basically I like help with the department. I'm helping people onboarding, training them. Co-ops, you don't have only internships are important. There's a great deal, but there's a lot of companies, include the company that I work at. We hire people out of college to work part-time, and we're allowing the flexibility for them to go to school and work. What happened basically, I was taking classes at my undergrad, and I met some people at the classes that were approaching me. Hey, I know you work in finance, you do this, you do that. And I also saw that they were doing great work at school, talking to professors, raising their hand, sitting up the front, or being at least engaging and active. And when I ran into me, like they basically, hey, I'm like, oh, we're hiring. And you just give me your resume, I'll introduce. And now they work at a company that I work. So it helped them to get a foot in the door. So very important. Yeah. And internships, if you have a chance, apply early. Apply early on. Don't wait until your senior year at college.
I have one other thing to add for internships, if that's okay. Apply in September. I learned that the hard way. You're looking for an internship in May when school is over, but no, everybody got hired in September. So apply for internships in September.
Can I add actually? So some of the government jobs like DOS, which is Department of State, federal jobs, they hire, yes, you're right, they hire like sometimes in May, like April, they hire for like the year like over. It's like ridiculously. It's like a year and a half because you got to get your security clearance and all that stuff. So yeah, I found out halfway too. I really wanted to get my foot in the door into that, and I was just too late.
I completely agree with you. And I think there was to piggyback on what Andy said earlier for job shadowing, specifically for high school kids, it's easy to job shadow for a day. You just got to find someone with something cool that you want to do and ask them. And I think that could absolutely turn into something potentially. I would say, just kind of from an HR perspective, it's easier to actually hire a high school student if you're at least 16. Before that, you may be limited to just shadowing. But yeah, I think the opportunities exist. All you got to do is ask.
Excellent. So we have a question from the audience. Do your companies provide internships to high school students or opportunities to job shadow? And I think we've answered a few of those, but the answer is yes, right? For high school students, in some of the industries where you do need that extra layer of security and paperwork, et cetera, right? It does take a long time. So be sure to apply early. Even the year before, right? So even if you're a freshman in college and the companies say, well, we're looking for an immediate return on our investment, we want juniors and seniors because we know they're going to be graduating really soon. explain to them, this is an opportunity for the intern and the company, right? You get to interview me for 10 weeks, 15 weeks, while you're working there, and you get to interview them to know, is this the industry you want to work in? Is this the company you want to work in? Do you want to work for a huge company? Do you want to work for a small company? And here in Connecticut, we have so many different opportunities, from those big companies to those small companies that only maybe have 20 employees. And the ability to do hands-on work, you don't need to get the college degree, right? So the next question was, do you need to have a college degree? And I'll tell you, some of our best employees, they started out in the machine shop, in the on the plant floor as an operator, and then they learn from there. They ask the questions, they learn more about the technologies. So if you want to be hands-on and really contributing, touching the product, as engineers, we get to do design and theory and models. But if you want to be touching the product and working with it every day, there are really, really great opportunities as operators, as technicians, and these jobs pay really well as well. So it doesn't always require a college degree. And then, like several of the folks on the line mentioned, getting the company to pay for that degree, especially if it's in an area that they care about. Many of them have those scholarship programs where they'll train you to get even more education in particular areas that they're seeing a need. So let's just double check the chat here. I love this question.
Can I add to that?
Yep.
So I would say one limitation in the medical field is that you actually do need certain degrees if you want to touch the product. So in the medical field, the product is usually the patient, right? So even though I actually have a doctorate, I am not a doctor. So I don't actually get to like touch or work with the patient. I'm kind of hands off in that aspect. So if you're interested at all in the medical field, you do want to consider things like maybe going to med school or going to a PA school or going to get a physical therapy degree, which are more advanced degrees. So depending on, there's definitely opportunities, I would say, for more technical positions. Like I mentioned, that radiology tech position, you don't have to go to college even to get that degree. But if you do want to actually work with patients and people, usually you do need an advanced degree in the medical space. So just be cautious of that if you're interested in what I do.
Great background, Andy. Thank you so much. And then the next question is, what was the worst and best decision you made while applying for jobs? And maybe Anthony can take this one, or Robert.
I think I can probably at least talk about my worst decision was what Alexander was just talking about it, waiting. Don't wait. That was probably I used to, well, my mom still coins me this, but procrastinator extraordinaire. Doesn't work in the real world. It worked maybe through college and a little bit of, high school and college a little bit, but it comes back to bite you. So definitely trying to jump at any opportunities that you see in front of you, going to those career fairs, reaching out to friends and family that may be in fields that you have, similar interests in. I think that's really a great opportunity to start. And I had the same, idea in my head where I was just like, I don't want to ask my dad because my dad's in a similar field, or at least he has connections. And part of me was like, well, I really want to do it on my own, but might have been able to fast track myself if I had taken those opportunities. But I think one of my best decisions as far as applying for jobs was kind of exactly that. I had the premeditated mindset that I wanted to do this and I wanted to do it on my own. So I made sure to fast track that opportunity and track down and lock down any of those opportunities I had in front of me.
Excellent. Robert, do you have engagement that you can share?
Yeah, absolutely. The worst and best thing was the worst would be if you're not really asking questions when you're going into an interview to figure out if that job is really what you're after. You can kind of get a little bit dazed of, oh yeah, here's the pay, here's what this is. Oh, we can compensate for this and that. And you might not necessarily focus in on, is this going to be the right fit for me? Is it going to be what I want in my career? Is it going to be advancement for what I want? So definitely kind of ask those questions when you're there, and don't be afraid if you kind of walk away from an interview being like, I don't think I really like that all that much.
Love it.
Yeah, you may want to spend a little bit more time looking for a job that fits you better than, because I landed into a position, working with a recruitment agent, and it was not at all what I was looking for. And looking back, I was like, I should have asked better technical questions to really establish, like, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm really after. Is this what I'm going to get here? And figure that out then.
Yeah, what are your values? I love the value cards exercise where you actually put down in front of you what are your values? What do you care the most about? Because that's where you're going to be able to make the biggest impact. And finding an organization and company that aligns with those values is really important. We've got several more questions coming in the chat, fast and furious now. So how important were your leadership skills to get you to where you are today? Maybe Alexandria can answer this one.
I'd be happy to. So, of course, leadership skills are incredibly important for where I am today. But I think we say leadership skills, but when you think about that, the next part is, but what does that mean though? Like, how do I get those? What even is leadership? How do you do the thing? So my answer to that question would be leadership for me, and there are many different styles and many different ways to do it. But for me personally, leadership is empathy, caring about the people that I work with. I succeed if everyone succeeds, and I genuinely care about my team, what they have going on every single day, whose mom is sick, whose, girlfriend is having troubles. I care about that because if my team is unwell, then we are all unwell, right? So to me, leadership is empathy and learning how to get everyone you work with to really be a team and compensate. Nobody's okay 100% of the time, and that's okay because we have the rest of us to build each other up.
Exactly. What I've seen as well, right? Caring is your biggest superpower, and it's caring about, your people, the customers, the product. And so just so many different ways that you can share that and show that within your career. So Mary Lou has a question. What tech jobs do you think will be here 10 years from now?
I can speak a little to that if you'd like. So I definitely think kind of the scary word right now is AI, and people thinking that AI is replacing certain jobs, especially coming out of college, or just coming out of high school. I can definitely say when it comes to cybersecurity, AI is probably generating more opportunities for us. We have more and more people asking about AI compliance, asking about how to, using it properly. There are more and more tools that are lending on AI, but you need people behind those tools to be making decisions. All of the tooling that we have, and yes, AI is making these tiny decisions. You as a human being need to be able to tie all those things together, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. So yes, there's definitely a little bit of a fear for AI when it comes to kind of replacing jobs. But if you're looking at cybersecurity, there's actually more that we're seeing. So definitely, if you're interested in cybersecurity, whether it's a technical side that I'm in, or if you're in more of a compliance side, both of those are really, really thriving right now with the popularity of AI.
I will say too, just to piggyback off of what you're saying there, AI, like you just said, I look at it more as, I stress this, but a glorified word generator, if that makes sense. But you really need the people behind it to do the machine learning algorithms that are training these AI models to exist in the first place. You still need the human aspects. We're not at AGI yet. That's the more self-thinking version of AI, if you want to think of it that way. But as far as what's in front of us right now, we aren't down that road too far yet.
Also, I think we will always have tech jobs. So they're not going anywhere. Maybe what they look like change, but I think the important thing to remember is there's still so much we as humans don't know. And that's what's exciting. And someone has to be there to discover it. Maybe part of it's AI, awesome. But like I can tell you in my industry, which is again optics, there is a certain procedure that we do. We call it smoothing, where literally I've done this myself, and all of my technicians, we take a piece of metal that has a rubber on it, and we by hand smooth out our parts, right? It's black magic. There is no instrument that man has made that is able to do what my hand and a piece of rubber can do on a piece of glass. So maybe eventually we'll figure it out. That would be awesome. But those things exist in almost every industry where unfortunately there's still things that only people can do. And as we continue to discover the concepts of the universe as human society, we're going to discover more things that unfortunately only humans can do. So these tech jobs, they're not going anywhere. They'll change shape, but you'll always be able to find something.
Amazing. Yes. And so true. I'd like to now turn it back to Roman to give us a few closing remarks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right, so before I close it off, I just wanted to add a couple more things, just really quick. One was about the internships and things like that, just the opportunities. That is, again, you guys, I have said, give great advice, but things like just talk, just ask people questions and find people in that field. Like a lot of the times when I'm talking to somebody and they say, "Oh, I'm in this field. I'm doing blah, 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 cybersecurity." I'm like, "Oh," and my first thought is, I want to talk to this person because I want to know what they do. And the my favorite thing, I don't know, I don't remember who exactly said it, but people are in this field because they like it. So ask them questions. They do want to talk about this because that's why they're here. So don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to reach out to people because they are doing this job because they like it. So they would love to talk to someone else about it. And then another little small point was on the jobs. And the jobs aren't going away. Jobs don't just magically disappear. So a really cool thought that I've been told by somebody at DAE was that when cars were being built, there was people that were building the cars. Now we have robots that build the cars. The jobs didn't go away. It's just now instead of building the cars, people are coding the robots that build the cars. So we're not going to stop building websites. We're just going to start learning how to work with the AI, and we're going to start designing the AI to build our websites. So the
For
jobs aren't
sure.
going to go away. They're just going to be different.
And I love
So
that you mentioned the Defense Acquisition University. I know we love our acronyms here in tech, but in the defense space as well, right? There's so many jobs that you can't have computers do. So there as well.
yeah. All right. So yeah, that's about it. But I'm just to close off. So it was a really great session today. A lot of great speakers. Thank you all for being here. A lot of great, exciting career paths from I can't even imagine. There was the people with the Hollywood technology to the nanometer machine. There's so many different cool things, and tech is such a large field. It's really great. So, if there's one thing I hope you can take away from it is that tech is for everybody. If you like to learn, if you are curious, if you want to make something, that's all you need. You don't need to know how to code. Again, you don't need to know math crazy. You can do those things. You can create anything like that. So we've heard from a lot of professionals today. They're working in cybersecurity, software engineering, data analytics, and more. So we've also learned that you don't really need a 4-year degree to get started. There's things such as apprenticeships, training programs, and tons of free resources, especially in this area, especially in the Stanford area, tons of free resources that help you break into the industry. So I would say the next step is really up to you. So maybe you'll research a career that sparked your interest today. Sign up for a course, reach out to a mentor. Those little steps, those very small steps like that can lead to huge opportunities. I actually remember I was sitting one day and a friend of mine said, "This is a place called DAE. You should check it out." And years later, I'm here. I'm doing tech. So there's always those little things that can really that one step could really be a whole staircase of opportunities. So yeah, the tech industry is always evolving, and there's no better time to start than right now. Uh, so before I wrap up, I just want to say a ginormous thank you to all the incredible panelists for sharing their insights, experiences, and just their ideas here today. Special thanks to our organizers for making this event possible, and obviously to all of you being here today. Your curiosity, enthusiasm, is exactly what we want in the tech industry. So I'll leave you all with this. The future of tech is in your hands. No matter your background, your interests, there is a place for you in tech, and you will find it. You have the power to shape the next big thing. Think of like the big ideas right now. In the future, you can be the person building those next big ideas. If you have an idea, it's a great idea. Think of it that way. And the question is, what will you do next? So thank you again, and we hope to see you again at a future tech event.
Thank you so much, Roman. Thanks to everyone for being here. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Please reach out if you have any questions or are curious in learning more about the work we're doing in expanding career awareness in tech. Have a great day.